second. Having technical difficulties. Connection has been rejected. So I might just restart this. Uno momento, por favor. Oh my goodness. All right, we're gonna try it. Having issues streaming on Rumble right now. Which is making me look bad because this is so I'm trying to switch to 1 second. Alright. Quite peculiar. So we're gonna try this one more time. Chat enable, it says. Having a lot of issues right now. Custom baloney. Baloney. It's just malarkey. So I just use this later, somehow upload it if I so choose. But yeah, because I don't have enough time to be troubleshooting all of this right now. Sorry to the rumblers who are going to miss it. Hey yourself. How are you? We're seeking to answer. Well, I think it's an obvious answer to the question. But then again, maybe not. We have all kinds of evidence. The Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA, it has been involved with everything wrong in the world. Like they're directly funding it, killing more of my leaders and heroes than Thanos. Putting banks in control of our day-to-day lives, corporations, like they were started to protect corporations' interests. So we have banana wars, we have wars for oil, wars for any precious mineral you can think of, not so precious minerals. They murder people for access to precious, the video rights. Patents, CIA, we have wars for just the dumbest of dumb shit, upholding their greed and their maniacal psychopathy. And it's just like, at this point, it's all out in the open. Like, we find all about it, a few years later, it's like, oh man, I remember 10 years ago, CIA was, creating the war on drugs, profiting heavily, funding terrorists in South America, doing all it's just like we always hear about it. We know what goes on. No one ever did a perp walk. No one ever had to face consequences. So obviously they're still doing it. Prescott Bush helped Hitler's rise to power. He was a part of the OSS, which became the CIA. Then his son was in charge of the CIA before he became president. Then his grandson became president yet again. No qualifications to run a country. Just like, it's just like a corrupt club. It's a big club and we ain't in it. But, all that is just like, why does the CIA continue to exist? We know, they're there to fuck us over. They've never done anything to benefit us. You get into the weeds of the conspiracies. There's some people who know that they're capable of doing some truly evil shit, but they continue to exist. Even the people who support them, they still have to acknowledge, oh, they did some shady shit. They just think oh, it's helping us somehow, some way. Our war on terror created more terrorists. War on drugs created more drug addicts. it also created more profits for corporations, especially if you're in the private prison business. But I'm someone. I have experience with some climbers in that area. Not directly CIA as far as I know, but definitely high government officials who benefit greatly off of treating people inhumanely. Let's just say that. So it's just like I have intricate experience with the just running into that kind of people, seeing what they do to their own family. Not just myself, but like when you have that kind of job, there's no way you don't take it home. But there are some CIA agents who I do have a great amount of respect for. Like the only person to go to jail for the torture program was a dude named John Kiriakou. He was the one who exposed it. Exposed that our government is torturing innocent people with our tax dollars. We're funding this shit. And it appears that we're co-signing it because, like, they're taking our money. Like, they're taking the money directly from your check. And then, like, overwhelmingly spending it on the most atrocious shit. Most of it is going to war, weapons manufacturing, building killer robots, shit that doesn't benefit you at all, but it enhances their level of control. CIA agents created Google. I mean, definitely in charge of it now. I mean, it was funded by our tax dollars from the gate. CIA definitely controls it. It's a information weapon. They take down people for misinformation. Then Google goes and creates a misinformation robot, Chat GPT. It's a misinformation machine. All it does is, and they're also funding all. If you look into Project Maven, CIA. They're one and the same to me. But Google, they took billions of dollars from the Pentagon to create artificial intelligence that was able to detect people from just pictures. 90% of the people in the drone program who they killed were innocent. If you were dark, like their software to detect your face, it would automatically discriminate against you. But the people who were creating this software, they didn't know it was being used on drones, the people at Google. So they ended up protesting it. Google pulled from the contract. Then a few years later, they went back in and started doing the same shit. But anyways, the reason why I said I really respect John Kiriakou is because a lot of the stuff I could say about the CIA is like, oh, he's an outsider, doesn't know shit. Right? John Kiriakou's been in the CIA for decades, right? And he has experience at what happens when you do the right thing, and you point the fact out that our government is the terrorists. Our government are the fascists. We're the ones. They're the ones taking away our democracy. It's not Russia. It's not China. Right? They have a propaganda system that can convince people that it's some other foreign entity that you've never encountered. Like they're the worst thing to happen to you. You've never seen them a day in your life, but the government that's all in your face, stripping you of your rights, robbing you blind, they're the good guys. So I came across this interview of John Kiriakou where he was asked, he was going into a lot of stories of his experiences with the CIA. But then he was asked directly, should we abolish the CIA? Now, I know a lot of people who, they could say the CIA is bad, oh, they did all this bad stuff, but then, at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, but they're there to help us. Like, overall, I wouldn't get rid of them because, like, they have to do something to save our lives at some point. Yeah, they killed a few presidents. Yeah, they started a few wars, tortured a few folks. But they got to be there for a reason, doing something good for us. But this is his response when asked if the CIA has any redeeming qualities. Is it working?
On rogue. They've gone rogue, definitely. And yeah, I mean, there's really no other real way to say it. They've just really gone rogue, and now we have an out of control government, and and so I can see where libertarianism definitely appeals to many of us in a lot of ways, just because of the government having gone so rogue. We're like, wow, geez, just scrap the thing, start over. You know, I think it just might need to do that. Certainly get rid of quite a few agencies, which I know Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about. Like, you know, we got to reform a bunch of these, or just I think we need to get rid of the CIA. So how you feel about that as somebody who worked for the CIA for 40 years? So you want to get rid of the CIA? You think it's an organization that's just strongly okay?
You know, and
are there good people who work for the CIA?
Oh, sure, there are. There were a lot of people inside the CIA who were objecting to the torture program. I regret that none of them went public, but there were a lot. People who curtailed their positions at the secret site saying, hey, I never signed up for this. This is illegal. That's a career-ending move to just walk away and fly back to headquarters. You know, you'll never get promoted again, ever. But nobody went public, which was really disappointing to me. You know, and another thing, too, this is something that you know, somebody's got to write a book about one of these days. It's not just operations that have made the CIA a rogue organization. They have gotten wrong literally every major global development since the Berlin Wall was constructed in 1948. Every one. Everything from the Suez Crisis to the you know, fall of the Shah of Iran, and I mean, you name it, they've gotten it wrong. So,
yeah, so what's the point of that?
What's the point? They all think they're so smart. They're smarter than everybody else. Yeah. What's the point? We have 19 intelligence services in our government. Other countries laugh when you tell them that. We have 19 separate intelligence services. You know? Why does the Department of Education need an intelligence office?
I don't know.
Or the Department of Commerce? Why?
Right. So let's imagine the CIA doesn't exist for a minute. Now let's go back to your time in the CIA and imagine there's no CIA. Do you think that in your time there, I mean, do you just think your time was wasted? Do you think that you didn't do anything good? Do you think that there wasn't anything valuable that you did? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if there was no you doing the things that you did those 14 years, do you think there would have been negative consequences, or positive consequences even? Like, maybe you stirred stuff up and, you know, and things were worse because of it, because of the things you were tasked to do while in the CIA.
Possible. That's possible. I'll answer that with an anecdote. In 1993, I was sitting in my daily morning meeting, right? I was in the Directorate of Intelligence. I was an analyst on Iraq, and I was the chief leadership analyst. So my job was to be Saddam Hussein's classified biographer. And so we have this meeting every day from 9 to 9:30, and you talk about what has developed in the country that you cover overnight. So I'm sitting there, and the secretary walks in, and she says, John, General Powell's on the line for you. I said, call him Powell? I said, how does he know who I am? She said, I don't know, but he asked for you specifically. He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time. So I walked over to my classified phone, the green line they call it, and I picked it up and I said, good morning, General Powell, may I help you? And he jumps right into it. He says, John, if the Iraqis were going to try to kill the president, who would be in charge of actually carrying out that operation? And I said, well, if you're talking about the attempt on President Bush's life, that was done in Kuwait. Kuwait operations are run from the Iraqi intelligence service's Basra station. And Basra station is headed by the head of the Iraqi intelligence service. He's a man by the name of General Sabr Abdulaziz Adouri, I said. And he says, thank you, and he hangs up. I go back into the meeting. My boss says, what was that all about? I said, he had this one weird question, and I told him what the question was. We all kind of shrugged our shoulders. 8 hours later, we fired 47 cruise missiles into Iraqi intelligence service headquarters. And we killed a janitor. And I said to my boss that afternoon, I killed that janitor. And he said, "You didn't kill the janitor. You didn't know that they were gonna blow up the headquarters." And I said, "But I should have asked." You know?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what the CIA does. They kill janitors, people who had nothing to do with nothing, struggling, people trying to make it day to day. Then they create a situation in which most Americans become that janitor. Like they're struggling just like it. If you really look at America nowadays, it's starting to look like Iraq during the shock and awe campaign. Just the streets are just turned to rubble. You see despair in the streets. You see like the high suicide rates, people overdosing right in front of schools where they should be getting educated. You know, there's no relief for the people, and the only reason it's allowed to continue is because people in the CIA, they're the same people controlling BlackRock, Vanguard, all these hedge fund managers. How do they get so rich? They got inside secrets because they're connected with the government. It's just direct fascism. Like they're in the government. They can run the corporations. They use the government to fund the corporations that they're running. It's a big money scheme, money laundering. Like it's just like once you start seeing people with multiple billion dollars still getting subsidies, they're the biggest criminals. All the worst shit in the world, you could assume that they did it. And they want you to think it's a Russian or a Chinese person because they benefit from war with those people. But yeah, CIA abolished that shit. It did my heart good. Very few people, especially credible people, like former CIA agent with insights on what they do will come out and say that it needs to be abolished. But it's a good feeling. Yep, Joe Biden got revenge for killing the 13 Marines in Afghanistan by drone strike and 7 children, I believe. Yeah, that's what they do. That's all they can do. It's like, oh, we have an injustice. Someone got hit by a brown person. Let's go bomb the country of his origin. Let's just go kill some innocent people who had nothing to do with it because we've been working on these new cluster bombs or whatever the fuck abomination God they created. And it's just like this is what they do. Now their favorite thing appears to be biological weapons. They think anybody can get it. Nate the Destroyer or Rebuilder. I'm the creator in the world of destroyers. I know it's hard to see the difference, but I am the creator guy. I'm the opposite of Beerus. If you watch Dragon Ball. You quit YouTube? Just curious. YouTube evicted me. Technically, I still have a tech channel, but I lost 4 YouTube channels, including my largest, my first, the subsequent ones. They were definitely algorithmically handicapped. People weren't getting notifications when I was uploading. People were automatically unsubscribing even when they didn't mean to. It was all kinds of trickery and fuckery with YouTube. Yeah, it was just a way of silence, and that's CIA. CIA, they're all involved with the Atlantic Council. Atlantic Council is responsible for taking down my largest channel back in 2014. They control the algorithm, algorithmically able to silence me. It's another dude. I believe it's Richard Epstein. Not to be confused with the other one, the Epstein that the CIA loves. But he's the one talking about Google. Him tracking Google, finding out the ways that they manipulate their algorithm. But yeah, I had experience with it. And yeah, so Google, typically not the best. So I've been exploring other avenues. Start streaming. I got my own website, but yeah, it's definitely hard to get traction when the world's largest search engine, monopolistic in its practices, They do their best to end all competition by patents the shit they didn't create, because they have all the money in the world, because they have the government behind them that's able to print their own money. That's why Google is the largest company, ubiquitous. Like they get to a point where everyone has to have their device. When they first came to market, we had way better options when it came to smartphones. But yeah, they co-opted all the competition, pressured them financially. Sometimes they just forced them out of business because, like I said, they got the government back and the CIA. That is Google. They are one and the same, like that. So yeah, that's a big reason why I'm all for abolishing the CIA, because all that money we're using to run their crazy ass schemes and operations, to make all of our media worse, fund the biggest liars, it could be used to destroy them. Then we start like what YouTube originally started off as, before it was like co-opted, before Google bought it. When anyone can post, you have the ability to respond to videos. So if someone said something, instead of censoring them off the internet, you can reply to it. You know, you don't end ignorance by just censoring it. Like you have to have a conversation. You know, if someone, Google says they take people out for misinformation, it's really malinformation. Truthful information that is inconvenient to their narrative. Because you can't even fucking question a medical procedure that they were directly profiting from, when they were doing their best to force it into people's arms, lying to us. You can't tell the truth. They tell you you go on your YouTube page and you say try turmeric and vitamin C for what's essentially a cold. That's bad information, because you're going to make people think that those are cures. But then they tell you that this medicine that they're profiting directly from is a cure. And I lost 3 channels for just kind of pointing out some of that hypocrisy. And they could never say what I said that was wrong. There's no discussion in it. I remember when YouTube first started, I had like the people in charge of YouTube like directly in my phone. I could email them, I could call them. They invited me to little shindigs. It was like a totally different website. But then, that was back when their motto was "Don't be evil." Then they got rid of that and they stopped pretending. They just was like, we got all this information, we got all your data, we bought up all the patents to the things that could save the world. The car that runs on the forever chemicals we put into the water. So we could kill the fossil fuel industry and the bottled water industry, because people would get free clean water just from cleaning their own water and using that as a fuel source. They got all kinds of stuff. They have the ability to prevent magical things from making it to the market, including better devices than the one they create. And even if you think you got choice with Apple, they got backdoors in Safari. They got backdoors in everything. You can't put a product on the market right now without them getting a cut and figuring out how to break in to steal your privacy. So, and that's the funny thing when they say Huawei devices. That's the Chinese government spying on you. I'd rather have them spying on me from way over there, where they can't do anything, than the government here that has like government enforcers that can come and shoot me with impunity. And now they legalize even killer robots in parts of the country. So it's just like our government's the issue. CIA is a big part of that. FBI, like I said, killed more of my heroes than Thanos and Darkseid combined. So it's just like I need some accountability. I need to see them doing the motherfucking perp walk to let me know justice exists. Pretty good. Hey, you still out here in Seattle? It's possible close to the area. Usually, I pass through there for a lot of work opportunities. Uh, like your hat. Well, thanks. I added the flare myself. Hey, YouTube. Welcome back to Employee Evaluations. Theme music. Pew, pew, pew. Yep, new employee evaluations over at NatesVlogs.net. Feel free to check it out. And the OG stuff as well. That's fact. Yes. I love that channel so freaking much. Um, you'd be a revolutionary figure in any form of government power. Oh, well, I mean, shit. I think that's why I wouldn't get it. I would love to. Well, I've been talking to some revolutionary figures, and they're talking about like starting like a worker oriented political party. You know, away from the Democrats, away from the Republicans, obviously, but also away from a separate organization that they ran on. Because like the organization is shit, and all the people who say they represent the values are shit, and it's just been corrupted by the same corporation. That's why corporate money is the beginning of the CIA. It's like how are these people just randomly millionaires, billionaires? They got all this money. They've been bought. Who has enough money to buy them? CIA, the corporations that they run. You know, like they're in charge of like some of the just shittiest companies. CIA agent was the CEO of Bud Light. They got him on every major corporation that you can think of. They're forcing, just hideous culture down our throats, preparing us for wars. And that's why it's just like all these. Anytime you see a Bud Light commercial, like I don't watch football anymore. But last time I watched a game, it's always some military ceremony where it's like, let's take a moment to celebrate the military. You know, we got some commercials telling you about the different branches we want you to join. You know, go get educated. You know, learn how to live a new life after having your limbs blown off. Just like, yeah, come back. Hopefully you won't kill yourself. But yeah, they got all this imagery. You know, even last time I went to Hawaii, it was like these Budweiser trucks that had militaries like proud to serve. All this is American insignia. And it's like kind of like a open threat to the Hawaiian people because that's like its own country. You know, they were co-opted by Western forces. Treaties that didn't help them. We're seeing what's going on with Maui. Even before that, you know, Oahu was being poisoned by the military bases out there. They had jet fuel being dumped in it. But yeah, like the corporate slogans on the vehicles just seem very threatening. It's just got all this military shit, and it's just. But yeah, a lot of that just needs to be acknowledged so we can do something about it. Like really, just like I said, day we start seeing some of these criminals doing the perp walk. That'll be like the day that gives me hope. You're too smart, and it's affecting their profit margins if people become more knowledgeable. Well, I don't think it's really intelligence. It's like, yes, I mean there is some knowledge of their history and stuff like that, but I think a lot of people know more than they let on, but it becomes profitable to shut up about it. You know, shut up and play ball. Do what they say. But I guess I've been affected so deeply for so long, had so many people who I care about, like, destroyed by this whole system, you know, and to this day I still got like family being poisoned by military bases, but you know, I already mentioned it multiple times, both my parents were poisoned by the military bases that they worked at knowingly, right? So it's just like there's some things that money can't buy, and that's silence in such an institution. I remember it was this was like a while ago, like 2014ish. It was like some opportunity through YouTube. They were talking about having a featured channel or something like that, and had a call from someone who worked there. And one of the last questions was, you know, are you in this for the money, or is it like something else? You got something else? Like, no, money is not the best motivator for me. You know, it's like, you know, one thing you realize once you get enough money is you just start thinking back to the moments that shaped you, where you was broke as a motherfucker, but you found out who you were, and times of duress, and you find, you know, and when I did have large lump sums of money, it usually went to helping people, you know, best I could. But yeah, needless to say, after I answered the question, I did not get the spotlight that they were talking about, and it was just like, yeah, it was a very hostile environment when it comes to my channel. Like, that's why I started getting all these complaints about people being unsubscribed without them doing it, and you know, them not getting notified. But you know, I love to see the competitors on the rise with YouTube. Companies like Rumble starting to eat their lunch. People need those alternatives, and yeah. So it's just you know, if you haven't followed me on there, and also got Odyssey as another site where I've never been censored. Everything else is censored me somehow, some way. So like all of the big stuff, TikToks, your Facebooks and Instagrams, their subsidiaries, all that shit censored me somehow, some way. So I should wear that as a sign of pride. Are they really painting rooftops blue? Well, I definitely got this blue suit on for a reason, brother. I want any direct energy weapons fucking up my juju. But yeah, you know, it's all kinds of cause for suspicion when you're under this government. You know, like, you need to question everything. You know, everything is called crazy, especially the shit that's called crazy. That's like the shit you need to question the most. Because they want you to just be like, no, duh. Obviously, JFK was killed by this one dude. Yeah, the President of the United States, all that security. One dude did it from a building 3 miles away with a pea shooter. But, yeah, that's the stuff you need to question more. I'm not saying, like, you know, just, I mean, some people, yes, question the whole reality that you've created for yourself, because a lot of times it's just they are turned upside down. I had a conversation with a family member. Well, we do this regularly, but one thing I noticed, whenever you start like to tackle something that they believe that they really don't believe, because they call to antagonize you, because they had friends who question it, they bring that shit up. But you know, once I start to get into, like, I let him speak his whole piece. You know, listen, he makes so many points. I wish I could address them all, but it's like it would take a minute. I'm like, how could you be this ignorant? How could you like this is? I had a family member who, you know, just loved Ronald Reagan, black man in his 40s. Loved, like, just, and I thought it was a joke at first. I thought he was like using some of that dry sense of humor, you know, like pretend he like it, but he was like, nah. And but yeah, you know, like just like the basic underlying shit that he believes would just be like wrong. And then as soon as I get to like finally make him a point. I'm like, okay, accept that. I have the explanation for that. Like, I'm talking, and then like he'll start yelling because he doesn't want to hear what I gotta say. And then once I start getting into the point, I figure out a way to calmly just like, shut up, please. Let me just make this point. Why are you being so feeble? Why are you being so soft? I let you talk for 15 minutes. You can't let me make this 15-second point without cutting me off. But then once we start doing that, you go like, I gotta go. But yeah, that's like the how sensitive the psyche is for some people. They don't want to learn, and we start like to get into the nitty gritty. They walk away, but then eventually, I had them come to me. Stuff he said I was crazy on, where it's just like, okay, I see where you're coming from now, and that's the goal. Like it may not be receptive at the moment. But in due time, like, yeah, the world will show them that you were right. And it's like so many people who, especially in beginning of 2020, just I was saying like some of the craziest stuff to them. And then like they couldn't understand. And then like lo and behold, around 2022-ish, it'd be like, it just, okay, that makes sense now. I guess I get what you're saying. And it's just like, how do we do something about it? You need to be with Rizza, Islam, and those cats. I don't know who that is, or what that is, or some kind of a dish, but I don't fuck with meat. Ah, yes, making your own reality by listening to outsources, the shadows in the cave. Well, yes. What you think is really not. Hey Betty, glad you made it. Yeah, I'm glad you did too. Free speech, that's crazy talk. Well, in some people's worlds, I mean, I'm one of those advocates. I got like a video. It was like my final class project for a class a few semesters ago, where it was just like me just advocating for censorship. I'm for whoever to get it. It could be my worst enemy, someone who stole my car, had nothing but bad shit to say about me. I still want them to have free speech, because that's if you don't respect your enemy's right to free speech, you don't respect free speech. But yeah, I had this whole, it was like 10 minutes, because that's how long the project could be. 10 minutes of me just like coming up with all the stuff, showing some of my experiences with losing free speech and the forces that compelled the people to take me off the internet. But I came in a little late on someone else's project where they were all for censorship. And I was like, I thank God I made it in time. I didn't want this to be the last word on censorship. Like, it's a good thing. Their whole thing was like, yeah, like, there's some really right-wing, racist, transphobic, misogynist. It's like just using all these derogatory terms, like just shit on like people. And you're just like, yeah, you could be none of those things, still get censored. You could be all those things and remain online or remain on whatever. Like some of the most hateful people are on authoritative news sources, pushing for war, killing millions, nuclear war at that. Psychopaths. No one ever has to question if they're going to lose their position. They tell you they're the good guys, when all of their behavior would exemplify the exact opposite. But they control the narrative, or they think they do. Now people are looking for alternatives, and I gotta take solace in that. Love your videos. I love you. What's AirPlay? AirPlay is a way to pay me. No, it's how I was streaming the video. I was streaming John Kiriakou talking about his experiences and in the CIA that led him to believe it should be abolished. Unreliable outsources, yes. Let's see.
And I've felt bad about that for the last 30 years. Did we make any difference by firing 47 cruise missiles into Iraqi intelligence service headquarters? Of course not. Except for killing a janitor. But no, we made no difference at all, either in Iraq or the run up to the next war or anything. There was no improvement at all in the work that we did. And then, you look at 9/11, which is probably the starkest example. Talk about closing the barn door after the animals have already gotten out. We were asleep at the switch on 9/11, refusing to cooperate with the FBI because we hated each other so deeply and so passionately that we wouldn't, our computer systems weren't even compatible. And so 9/11 takes place. And then what do we do in response to 9/11? We kill 1 million Muslims.
That sounds like the appropriate response. I just remember after 9/11, it was this Islamic fervor, Islamophobic fervor in the society. It was like someone, she thought she was brand new. She was like second generation Mexican. She was to the point where she hated the other Mexicans for making her look bad. She didn't know Spanish. She was just like, I'm basically white. But she was we were like debating because I thought the whole idea of going to Iraq was just the most insane shit. It was like, okay, these terrorists, they hit our buildings. We're talking about their in Afghanistan, Pakistani found out like, yeah, they're trained in Saudi Arabia. It's like, yeah, so they got nothing to do with Iraq. But we're just like going to these random brown people for retribution. Like, how does that make sense? She's like, oh, because they did 9/11. I was like, no, they did. No, they did. They're working with Osama bin Laden. That's their homie. I was just caught off guard because it's just like, it was just so stupid. I was just like trying to wrap my mind. Is this a joke? Is this like, where is this hatred coming from? But it was definitely there, and I just thought it was just silly, and like, yes, the you must love Saddam Hussein. That rhetoric is just like the same with fucking you say you don't want to go to war with Russia. It's like, oh, you like Putin, you like Trump. They associate you with some like people who you have no association with, just because I'm for justice, no matter who it's for or who it's against. I'm for the truth, no matter who's telling it. Just like I'd rather be on the side of honesty, like, because we're allowing our government to just get away with just like, oh, you like the bad people, you hang out with bad people, you're a bad person because you don't want war. You don't want to go in and kill millions of people for something they had nothing to do with. Yeah. So it's refreshing to hear him, just say these common things that we all know to be true. But it's just like, it seems like CIA is incapable of it. Like, they profit so heavily off of destroying our country and countries abroad. Or had millions of followers. Of course, YouTube evicted you. You're not a major corporation. Yes, that's how they do it. But there was a point where they were kissing my ass. I remember, all the shit I had with full screen. There was a point where they were showing me all this attention, showering me with it, because at one point YouTube's algorithm favored people who can maintain the viewer's attention. So I was in like the highest 80 percentile of people who can like maintain attention. I was getting these views, but like people would watch pretty much my whole video, like at least 80% of it. And that's like taking into account that, I had outros that people I'd seen a million times, and they probably skipped that piece, right? Whatever. But yeah, but when they favored all that stuff, those different algorithms, like full screen was kissing my ass. YouTube was inviting me to come down every week. Um, but then they just realized they don't need people like me. I'm a troublemaker. I had like I was around when Saudi Arabia came to buy up to bribe YouTube to be able to silence their critics. I didn't know what was going on at the time. Found out later. But yeah, that was the time when the Saudi prince started a fight. I got it on tape. Then they stole my camera. They just took it out my hands, ripped my lanyard and everything. Um, yeah, yeah. So it's just like I realized where the concept of diplomatic immunity. Because everything they did, they're above the law. They could assault people, they could rob you, they could do all kinds of shady shit. I know they did way worse than the stuff I saw. Found out about the bone saw, dismembering someone who coordinated with the CIA, but I think that's a atrocious way to go. But yeah. Oh, Joe Biden got your. Hold on, there's something impeding me seeing that. Joe Biden got revenge for killing a 13 Marine Afghanistan. Oh yes, I read that one. Hold on, it's not allowing me to go to the bottom. It was Bush doctrine that made no distinction between the terrorists and any government that aids them. Well, yeah, that's Bush. Uh, Bush apparently to the Democrats, he's a winner. He's thumbs up. He's much better. He reminds the Democrats of a fonder America compared to Trump. They love war. Obama, well, he said it in this interview. He said Bush, he ended his presidency killing one person with a drone program. Obama ended his presidency killing 400 people with the drone program on his day out. His day out, 400 people, y'all gotta die real quick. So it's just like, it's a continuation. And there's no interest in repealing that. One of the things I would love to see is the Hague Invasion Act repealed. So we could see all of our presidents do the perp walk. But nobody's talking about that. And Democrats, they say they're the truth and justice, but yeah, there's no truth, there's no justice in their party. That's why we went to Iraq. Yes, no, we went to Iraq because of lies. Elme, that's their homie. Are you on Rumble right now? No, Rumble. I had some technical difficulties. However, yeah, I do got some new edited content coming up over there. So, stuff I'm gonna be uploading on NatesVlogs.net. I upload there first to put it on NatesVlogs.net. So go check me out. I'll be posting that shortly. I do gotta get ready for work. So I appreciate you guys showing up and abolish the CIA. Hey Nate, Big Nate, pause. Yes. Hey Nate. Good to see you. Sending good vibes from El Paso. Yeah, that's the only part of Texas I ever stayed in. Hey Nate, you look nice. Well, so do you, and I appreciate you acknowledging my dapper appearance. But anywho, internet. Don't forget to be good to each other. Unless you run into someone in the CIA, be very bad. Overthrow them. If it's John Kiriakou, unite to overthrow the other CIA people. So, yeah, let's do that. Love y'all. Toodles.